Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Green, and my title is Director of the Office of Career Promotion for the American Association of Colleges of Podiatric Medicine. So it's great pleasure that you're here today to share with us some of your time to learn about podiatric medicine and the different options you have available in terms of pursuing that field. Let me share screen. That is not working. One moment, please. Apologies, it is not sharing the screen at this moment. HOSA, are you there to?
Hey, we can see your screen.
Oh, you can see it?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, great.
Oh, wait, that's your email. Your Zoom link
Great.
right there. Okay, here's our friend.
All right, so you can see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you for being patient with us too.
Yeah, it just gives everyone else an opportunity to stumble on into the room, so I greatly appreciate it. Once again, my name is David Green. I'm the Director of the Office of Career Promotion for AACS, which is the American Association of Colleges of Podiatric Medicine. In the next few minutes, I will be giving you a brief overview of the different schools of podiatric medicine in the United States. There are 9, but I'll also be touching upon some of the admissions requirements to be considered for the field. And obviously your interest is piqued to a degree because you decided to join a few minutes with us today. My presentation is fairly brief and I will go fairly quickly in terms of giving you an overview. But first, I wanted to provide a little fun facts or trivia. How many bones do you think are in the human foot? You know, when people think of podiatrists, not everybody has a clear picture in terms of the career itself, but it's also some of the specifics in terms of what's entailed from the day to day. In each foot, you have 26 different bones. There are 30 joints and over 100 different muscles and ligaments. So within everything from the knee down is what you're considering for the field of podiatric medicine in terms of working beyond the general perceptions of what the profession entails. Interestingly enough, I would say over the last few years, we've had a pretty steady representation of females who have joined the field of podiatric medicine. So if you were to think of the percentage of women who make up the profession of these options, obviously they're close together, we find that it hovers around 45% of our matriculated students among all the 9 colleges, our member schools, are female. And that may go up a little bit here and there year to year, but it hovers around 45% or so in terms of that percentage. And it has gone up in the last few years since 2015, slightly, but enough. It's significant. And finally, where do DPMs work? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine. You can think of them in a multifaceted arena in terms of where the landing spots are in terms of the profession. Private practice offices, HMOs, hospitals, working in the military. Obviously, there are different fields of specialty that are involved in being able to pursue a career in the field where you manage your business, your podiatric medicine business. You come out of the program and you can become really an entrepreneur, manage your own business affairs. So if you decide to do that, you very much have a lot of autonomy in terms of your choices of where you go with respect to an employer. But it is multifaceted, it is quite diverse. And The answer is E. They work in all of these different fields in terms of being able to not just regionalize their preferences, and I'll touch upon the different schools where their locations are, but it is a field that is quite rewarding in terms of not being pigeon-toed, let's say, into one specific set of options. It's quite diverse in that regard. So my job within the Office of Career Promotion is I represent the 9 different colleges to be able to assist them in many ways. One is informative for prospective students, eventual applicants and matriculants to the respective colleges and schools, being able to work in tandem with them to, we'll talk about the application and the simplicity of actually applying to a one-stop shop portal for all 9 colleges. So it's to facilitate the admissions process and the application processing, if you will, test scores, transcripts, letters of rec, we'll touch upon that. But it's also to really make sure that how best we can serve you as a student in terms of being able to help you from a fit perspective. Is this a career that for you makes sense? But podiatrists are doctors, they are physicians. Many pursue the path to become a surgeon. You can accomplish that in becoming a DPM. And every year there are about 1,300 DPMs in the field across the United States. It is a field that is obviously recognized by the federal government as a doctor. So you are a physician in terms of your area of specialty. So beyond the bone, the bones in the foot, the bunions, the toenails, the dermatological aspects, the diabetes component to what impacts our feet and or ankles and lower extremities. So in that sense, it is a field that can be quite diverse, quite intriguing, and once again, I would just say not limited. Here we like to incorporate some of our profiles of the students where they studied and the year, and you'll see several different schools sprinkled throughout the presentation. And I'll have a slide on where these 9 schools are if you haven't seen that already. So podiatric medicine is a field of study that requires you to go for your first 2 years, the basic sciences and coursework. So there you'll have your gross anatomy, your biochem, lower extremity anatomy, etc., including with your clinical studies. So on that note, I would say that one of the questions that tends to come up is, do I need to have a bachelor's of science in a particular field related to health to be considered for the field of podiatric medicine? And the short answer to that is no, you do not need to necessarily have a bachelor's of science degree dedicated to one specific field. In fact, the more diverse for those, the application profile of our incoming students, the better. Obviously everyone comes in with different sets of skill sets. People make career transitions all the time, though obviously if you're going into this field, you need to be pretty set on determining for your own pathway forward as a career to be able to complete it with obviously great fulfillment, academic pursuit in terms of accomplishing your goals. But there are obviously the very difficult components, but rewarding in terms of what you can expect in years 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as you get to the latter 2 years of your studies in undergraduate, there are clinical skills, patient care exams, physical diagnoses, surgery, neurological, dermatology, etc. So it's really being able to pursue those courses that relate to you and your aspirations to become a DPM. You will complete these 4 years, and you will also then pursue a residency. So it is a 7-year career path on the academic side, and it is, in that regard, a pathway for you to pursue with great rigor in the academic components. Excuse me one second. My apologies, part of working at home with young kids. So there is a residency component which consists of 3 years. So to be considered for the field of podiatric medicine, you must really consider the 7 years that are required to be vested in terms of the field itself. As I mentioned earlier, there are 9 different schools that we represent in the association, from Florida to New York to Iowa to Illinois to California. So within the field, we have 9 fully accredited colleges that have colleges of podiatric medicine built into their academic components as a school. And it gives you those choices to be able to consider, one, the rigors of the program, but also where perhaps you feel most comfortable, not just in a geographical setting, but also in terms of the fit of the university or college, because they will obviously have some slight nuances in terms of the curriculum, the labs, the residency components, and shadowing opportunities that are available to you to be able to be considered for the field. So we manage the application portal where you can apply to all of these 9 schools in one shot, a one-stop shop, if you will. So you do not need to actually have separate applications to all these individual schools. We manage that for you and work in tandem with each of the schools respectively to facilitate the process, to ensure the integrity of the credentials, the letters, the test scores are all received in tandem with their own admissions requirements. And so those admissions requirements, for the most part, are pretty general across the 9 different schools. You will find some schools that may have a slightly different average of MCAT score averages. The range is really 493 to 500 in terms of overall representation of the 9 schools. So you may find that one school may hover around 498, another school around 493. There are also different sizes of classes that they will have in terms of size. So the student profile, whether it's male, female, whether it's the academic representation of the undergraduate degree that you'll find in terms of representation of the students, particularly incoming students, will vary. As you can imagine, one school may have 40 DPM students, and another school may have closer to 80 to 100. So it really will vary. So I think it's key to really think of us as the association as we manage the application portal. We are really that one-stop shop for you to be able to facilitate and streamline that entire process. There are advantages to apply to several schools at once. In fact, as of this week, the average is 4.4 schools that are applied to for an individual applicant to the program. So you must have 3 years of undergraduate or 90 semester credit hours accrued at a fully accredited institution. As I mentioned before, the institutions vary from private to public universities by degrees and majors. As I touched upon, the diversity is there, perhaps quite different than other fields, but it's there. You must have the opportunity to shadow, and being able to have the opportunity to learn and follow what's typical is up to 40 hours of shadowing with a podiatrist in your region, and we can help facilitate, and each of the colleges can help you in terms of that regard of recommendations for opportunities to shadow. That will really give you some key insights in terms of the ins and outs, the daily work-life balance, what's entailed in terms of the ins and outs of the field, what are they finding most rewarding, what it is on a daily schedule, what intrigues them about the challenges as they continue to fulfill the career as a DPM. I did touch upon, obviously, the MCAT scores. Those will vary, but you want to consider, one, of course, the preparation to be able to submit a competitive MCAT score. The universities in general take a very holistic approach, and by that I mean they will tend to look at the candidate overall comprehensively, but obviously there are varying admission standards in place for the students when they're considered by the individual schools. So each of the schools has their own admissions criteria, but for the most part, you're going to find the MCAT averages are up in that range of about 493 to 500. Let's see. So as I mentioned before, sort of the curriculum in terms of what you're looking at in terms of the ins and outs of the life sciences, 8 hours of biology, chemistry, organic, and physical, 6 hours of English, the MCAT we already touched upon. I think it's really interesting and important to point out that when you're applying, it's, you want to include any type of volunteer or opportunities that you've embarked upon, particularly in the last 15 to 16 months, obviously with COVID. A lot of the schools over the last year had implemented a lot of COVID contingencies built into how best to serve students and being able to interview and consider candidates. So we find that when we're advising applicants to these colleges, to be able to put that or tie it into your personal statement, sort of give us an insight into you as the individual person or candidate for pursuing the career path of becoming a DPM. You'll want to touch upon what your contributions are, whether you had an opportunity to serve your community during challenging times. What did you gain out of that? What were the experiences? Those will provide complementary aspects or components to your application. And it really speaks to you as an individual candidate to be considered by these select admissions committees across the 9 colleges. So I think that's important why we put that in there. It's a component I think is very important in terms of being able to really understand the holistic approach the candidates as they consider such a career on a holistic manner. We have here obviously the website of how you can apply. We have our website, which includes all the information on the 9 different colleges from across the country. If you go to our website, you'll see a virtual digital resource called CIB. That document is really a sort of a catalog, if you will, with profiles of all the 9 schools, gives you a snapshot in terms of what those schools are all about in terms of their admissions criteria. When do they have intakes for schools? For the most part, it's the fall. You have one school that has 2 incoming periods, inlets a year. So it gives you a snapshot, if you will, in terms of what each school represents, obviously where they're located, and a little bit of a profile of the school. So once again, it's important to consider us that one-stop shop, if you will, to be able to help streamline the process and give you very timely feedback in terms of the status of your application and being able to pursue it accordingly. There are some great resources out there. Obviously, they're included on this website, particularly as you think about down the road where you may want to consider a shadowing opportunity. These are opportunities for you to learn more about our partner organizations and affiliates. There are some great YouTube videos out there on student testimonials, student ambassadors. Our websites here that are listed really give you those opportunities, particularly Discover Podiatric Medicine. It gives you a key plethora of resources for how you can consider the students and alumni who went through these programs and what was important for them and their considerations of the DPM career pathway, sort of best practices, if you will. But there's a lot on our website. There's a lot in terms of being able to consider the field with the 9 different colleges. You'll see the different events that we have throughout the year, that they will have virtual open houses. They will have, of course, as the fall opens up, most of the 9 colleges, if not all, will be fully operational in person for this upcoming fall semester. I think that's very important because as you think about down the road, interviews, whether they're in person or virtual, some of the schools may adopt a hybrid platform, if you will. Some of these opportunities over the last 15 or so months have been really insightful for schools to think about how best we can serve our applicants who are considering these schools and how best to connect to evaluate. So I think that those are some key resources for you to check out later. Obviously, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We do a lot more on the Twitter front. And I think really for us to be able to help connect you with the individual schools is paramount. We can introduce you to the key admissions representative at each of the schools. And in accordance with that, they can also, at the respective schools, connect you with current students, faculty, residents. You can really shop around. I think it's really important to consider if you're serious about becoming a DPM, you really want to ask the right questions. Don't be shy. The schools are more than willing to provide you with those answers and/or resources. they're always there to help you, as we are as well. So with that, I hope you found this insightful. The opportunities for you to become a DPM are quite extensive. And with that, I'll be wrapping up. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Quiet crowd on a Friday afternoon, David.
Yeah, well, they're bearing with me with 2 young kids, right?
Hey, it's summer and they know what it's like to have summer. So we just want to say thank you so much. We really appreciate you and we hope you have a great weekend and happy summer.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.